What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of your Tuesday Track Talk, episode number 54 with your Three Stones Pit Crew. I'm your tire changer, Cam,
I'm your Jack Man Kellen.
and we are going to be a man short today. Cam was not able to make it today, so it's just going to be the deuces rolling on this one. We're lug nut short, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that big thing, wedding planning you call in life, kind of can consume a guy, one might
Yep,
say.
yep,
So no, all good things. He'll be back. Just a lot going on right now. So can't
yep.
blame the guy.
Nope, fair
So
enough. So, normally I would ask the what's been going on since we last reconvened, but I'm going to kind of skip that a little bit because I want to jump into the Oktoberfest race weekend that we had at Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway this weekend. And I'm going to
yeah.
kind of twist it towards you here real quick. Your first weekend at Oktoberfest race weekend, how was it?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, reality of it is you could be at the racetrack at 10 o'clock, you could walk in pretty much be cars on track. That's
Yep.
The reality of it is, if you want to see cars on track, practice qualifying, heat racing, last chances, whatever it is, you could pretty much walk in there on from Thursday on, and there's pretty much cars on track at any given point. So, and we were kind of talking about this with your grandpa, like in the scheme of things, like there really is very few weekends that have that much on track activity throughout the course of the year.
Yep. I mean, it's every, and especially up here, it's every Midwest racing series was there
Yep.
pretty much. You had your obviously super late models, the Midwest Tour. You had the Midwest trucks. You had Big Eight late models. You had the Mid Am series. You had the Vintage series. You had everybody there for the most
Yeah,
part.
I mean, even Thursday night, they had the quarter mile wrapped up their season championship. If you were a weekly person at that track, fan race or whatever, you were still there on Thursday night, to
Yep.
wrap up your season championship outside of the traveling series or tours, if you want to call them, so that we're there for the weekend as well. So
Yep.
plenty of action. If you can sit in a lawn chair from Thursday morning until Sunday night, that was the place to be.
Or even camp starting on Monday too.
Yeah, you can camp all weekend. Christ, I believe the campers are still pulling out today. I think the campground closed tonight, so on a Tuesday night, so you could literally camp there for a week if you wanted.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, I mean, if you wanted racing, that was the place to be. You pull in and park, and you could be there hour. If you knew somebody was camping, go have a beverage, or go in watch racing. Yeah, it awesome weekend.
Yeah, just a ton of ground that you could just roam around.
Yeah, and then
So
you could spend a lot of money too.
yeah, we almost ran into that venture. Excuse
Oh,
me. Almost ran
yeah,
into that, but we stayed away from it.
yeah, yeah. So.
Briefly talk about Thursday. I ended up watching that one here at the complex. Um, Main event was the futures and feet and nights race for the super late models. Um, ooh, might be frozen.
I can still hear you. Words are
Okay,
still.
now I'm back.
Oh, all right. Yep, we're
I
good.
had the internet is unstable warning on mine. So,
We're good.
uh, okay. So yeah, Thursday, the futures and the nights race. Futures. So it's anybody that has, I believe it's 3 years or less experience in a super late model. And
Yep.
then your nights is everybody else,
The
basically.
vet. The vets. Yeah.
Yep. So Ty Fredrickson, pulling Ty Fredrickson things at Lacrosse, ends up winning the futures race, which in a pretty dominating fashion too. So you kind of may have started setting tone a little bit for what the weekend could be
Absolutely.
there. And that's what this was too, is a good dose of all right, who's good, who's not, and who do we got to keep an eye out on. And
Yep.
then when you go to the futures race, Zier was definitely going to be that other one.
Yep. For sure.
So,
So.
Trickle 99 on Friday for the main event there. Uh, First two segments rolled off pretty much without a hitch. Um,
Yep.
Obviously a cool deal there. Quick little invert for the first segment. You gather up points for each segment, and you're basically looking for a golf score. Second one got obviously the invert. So Fredrickson won the first segment, and Johnson won the second one, which was good to see Johnson at least participate a little bit this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, do a little racing. It's always good to see. He's always going to have a fast race car wherever he goes. So you had to know he was going to have somebody who was going to have something to say about at least one of those segments for sure, if not more.
Yep. And then we got to the third segment. Sun had gone down, definitely got a little cold, and I don't know how much that had to do
Yeah,
with the racing, but you go on a turn one there on what was ultimately the second go round at the start of the segment,
yeah,
and you pile up 7 cars into turn
yeah.
one.
That unfortunately for a couple guys ended their weekends.
Yep.
And looking at that super late model entry list, it was this is all of the super late models here in some capacity. So some of those guys maybe didn't have intentions to run the 200 on Sunday, but there were a few guys that certainly did. And unfortunate with that pile up in one that ended a few guys' weekends early.
And from our position, we kind of saw what happened, but didn't at the same time.
Yeah,
Kind of, and at least from discussions, it almost kind of looked like that Refner just whether he spun the tires or just didn't go or checked up or whatever the case may be. Something
yeah,
happened where Stenjum got in and underneath them and just spun himself out, and that's when everybody kind of piled in from there.
yeah. It was basically from that third row back. You were either in it or you didn't quite make it to the start finish line. You were checked up already.
Yep. Um, Fredrickson ends up getting had a little controversy going into that one, but who's to say what it is? And Storm put it probably pretty good. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah,
So I had a tire question coming out for the third segment, ended up sticking with the original tire. They ended
yep,
up cutting down another tire in that initial wreck. So they ended up swapping to a new right rear.
yep,
Um, Worked on the car a little bit, started in the back and just stormed his way up through the front to win the third segment and then the overall trickle 99.
yep, yeah. So yeah, you hate to see on the initial green flag or a shot at the green flag there that you have kind of that melee in one. And you talk about some good cars. You had the likes of Michael Hind, Justin Mondyke, Riley Stenjem, Brock Heinrich, Travis Volm. Um, you just had guys that were unfortunately collected due just to the circumstance in
Yep.
front of them.
I think Johnson and Stormy got pieces of it,
Yep.
but kept going.
Able to finish, but there was a little collective catch of something there for those guys as well.
Yep.
So
Yep. So again, got good showing for Fredrickson there, being able to storm up through the field. And again, it just kind of set up of he's going to be tough to beat when Sunday rolls around.
for
Uh,
sure.
Touching on Sunday real quick, Midwest Truck Series, running their feature race there. Um, Obviously Brandon Reichenberger's was looking to wrap up the championship going into that one. Started
Mhm.
not pretty close to the front of the field, but had some work to do.
Mhm.
Um, but Manchester Ace just whole nother level again.
Yep. Yeah, Chester race was tough to beat. And it comes down to the last race of the year. Guys are points racing. At the end of the day, Brandon knew what he had to do to win that title, and he knew where he had to be. Um, he did what he had to do. He didn't start it deep, struggled a little bit early, but once he kind of got rolling, he picked a few more off and ended up right where you need to be your Midwest Truck Series champion.
Yep. So really cool deal there.
Speaking of the trucks, really quick, did you see Jeff
Yeah,
Storm's Facebook post?
I did see that.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun on Sunday. In 2025, the Truck Series could see more of him. That would be fun.
He's obviously been very vocal about some of the super late model rules this year as well. So
Mhm.
that could be not a hint per se, but an opportunity.
Let's be honest, he's good enough that if somebody unloaded a truck for him at somewhere that the supers were racing, um, I would be excited to see him in the trucks.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm going to assume he grabbed a little attention with that post today.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So
yeah,
no,
the crazy part was is that right before that race, we were kind of watching the sky a little bit, and you could see the kind of the cloud shelf coming in, and we're like, oh boy. And then
well,
all of a
then we were up
sudden
at
it got,
that up eating, and then we got that gust of wind. We're like, this isn't good.
yup, and it got really, really windy. It got really dark. Never did anything, but we got the race. But man, did it get windy there for a while.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep. So
kind of changed the
cool.
dynamic a little bit of it there,
Yeah.
especially in the fall with the leaves falling on the track. You had guys that had overheating issues just due to the leaves from the wind on the track.
Yep.
So,
And that's their typical Oktoberfest gremlin is fighting leaves.
yep. Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So main event Sunday. Obviously the Oktoberfest 200, for the Midwest Tour, crowning a champion for not only Oktoberfest race weekend, but for the Midwest Tour as well. Pretty much a three-way battle, when it came down to it. Mondyke, who actually missed Saturday's qualifying, so ended up starting in the back. Uh, Levon Vandergeest and Gabe Summers fighting for the
Yep.
championship going into this. Um, Early on, Zier and Morrissey got together. About lap 5 is when they got together and took out a fast car right away with Zier, and just
Yeah.
a simple mistake on his part.
Yeah. Caught the wall. Morrissey had asked if he had given him enough room. He felt like he did. But kind of watching the video, you can see Zier kind of caught the wall. And it kind of bounced them into the 39, and they both
Yep,
ended up the fence. For Morrissey, all damage aside, was able to get that thing back to pull the panels away and a couple of rolls of speed tape, and away he went. But unfortunately for Zier, that he
ended
was
his
up
day.
literally up on the wall, and that was the end of the day for him.
Yep, and again, it took out a very fast car that could have
Yeah.
easily won that race. Obviously, last year him and Majeski were going at it pretty heated there up until they wrecked each other. So 2 years in a row, kind of a disappointment for Zier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, we keep going on. Um, RJ Braun ends up backing it into the wall there as well. Um, Not a whole lot of cautions for wrecks in this one.
Yeah, it really was three of them, really.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't, and even with Braun, I didn't really see what happened if he got touched, if he lost it. I don't really even know, but it just, you looked in one. And when I looked up, I was monkeying with the scanner. When I looked up, you just saw the nose of the car looking at you.
Yep.
And that's never a good situation.
Yep.
So,
Um, so on one of them ensuing restarts, Ty Fredrickson got a little ballsy. Igbo went 3 wide. That you saw everybody there, that reaction that everybody had, hands in the air and cheering. And I mean, nobody expected that.
no, he started inside row two. He got a decent jump and he said, hang on, boys. And he sailed her off way down on the bottom. And he took Majeski
Majeski and Summers.
Summers 3 wide. Um, Damn cool picture.
Yep.
We can say that now because everyone drove away from
Made
that.
it out. Yeah.
Correct. But yeah, and I also did I hear the grumbling that they maybe said the officials maybe said we're not going to do that again.
Yeah, I just so happened to flip over to the officials because I saw him kind of back off, and I wondered if he got the "give it up" speech.
Yeah, yeah,
And I heard the tower come in and say, 36, we're not doing that again.
yeah. Kid had a damn fast race car,
He had a damn good fast race car.
and it was
Hooked up.
hooked up. Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I mean, kind of speaking of Freddie, him and Michael Hyan, first off, another fast car. Michael Hyan for his first Oktoberfest race
Yeah.
appearance. Um, he had a really fast car, obviously racing in the Majeski car for
Mhm.
Toby. Um, Him and Hind got together. Freddie and Hind got together. Puts both of them in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty late in the race too.
Those are two cars that ran up front all day, and it just kind of seemed like I don't know if it was the tires, the heat cycle, what it was. It just never really seemed like the 36. It made his way through some traffic for sure, but just after that spin, just didn't have the speed that he had prior to that. So you kind of wonder late when you got your tires on late in the race if that spin maybe had a little effect on that car. So
Yep. You can't say the same for Hind though. I mean, he stormed his way back through the field
oh yeah,
after
that
on that restart.
very good
Yeah,
race.
going forward. So in this race, they had a few competition cautions just for green flag runs. Chad Butts ends up having some electrical gremlins in a new car for him on one of those restarts. Just can't get it fired coming out of the pit stall.
Yeah, brand new car, first weekend out on it. So you hope you hope that you have everything buttoned up right, but you just until you get a chance to test it, you really just don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunate for him. I mean, he started up on the front row and ran inside the top 10 most of the race.
Yep. Yep. Just gotta stay out of trouble
Yeah, yeah,
type
for
of
sure.
thing. Yep. Um, so when it came down to it, we were kind of talking about Morrissey. He was another guy that once he got into the back, he stormed his way through the field. He got himself back up into contention pretty quick.
Yep. Yeah, that thing was even with the damage was still lights out fast.
Majeski and Summers were fighting a lot on the ensuing restarts. Seems like Summers would kind of get the first edge on the restart, but then Majeski just had the long run car and just went right around Summers.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And even some of those late restarts, Johnny Sauter had a really good race car as well. He just didn't have the long run speed that, or the short run speed. I'm sorry. It took him a little bit longer to come around.
Yep.
He had speed in that car. He was set up a little bit more for the long run. It felt like. So when that last caution came out with 25 to go, you knew he was going to have to drive hard to stay up there. Just knowing that he was a little bit more of a long run car in that feature.
Yep. And knowing that you're not coming down pit road, especially from the lead,
Yep,
uh, you're pretty much fighting to stay up there.
yep. And when you got the 91 breathing down your neck, that there's a little added pressure to take the air away from him
Yep.
track like that as well. So
Another guy that I think that last caution kind of hurt a little bit was Ryan Farrell. He was kind of fighting up there in that seventh, eighth, ninth position. That caution came out, and I think that just kind of stalled his run out too, and kind of fell off a little bit. But also, awesome guy.
yeah,
Kind of
yep,
chatted
for
with him a
sure.
little bit in that autograph session.
Yeah, 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 for sure. We were kind of talking about it way home. We don't, we don't do it for the fame. We do it because we love it.
Yep.
But when guys like that recognize you, like you're a podcast guy, it's like that's pretty cool. It just kind of a cool moment, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of, and like he mentioned to me, he's like, yeah, it's kind of like just a bunch of buddies bullshitting up in the grandstands on a Friday night. He's like, I can get behind that.
Yep. Except for we do it on a Tuesday and you can watch it over and over and over again.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was kind of a pretty cool moment to see that and then have him recognize that. So that was
Yep.
fun.
Oh, and to that point though, too, it was good to see Farrell run an Oktoberfest race too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, when it came down to it, Majeski just car to beat. He was the car to beat, and you knew coming into the weekend, even with the lack of racing he did throughout the weekend, that car was just set up on a whole nother level. So
Yeah.
he goes on to win his fourth Oktoberfest race weekend, if I remember correctly.
Yep. He's one of three guys that have done that. So
Yep. So Majeski, Morrissey, Michael Hind storms his way back up to third. Summers was fourth. Justin Mondyke fifth, coming from the back as well. Cody King, just a quiet sixth. Bryce Miller seventh. Johnny Sauter fell back to eighth. Jonathan Island, who's I think I saw ran his second super late model race in 3 weekends for the year,
in his only two races of the
and
year.
his only 2 races of the year. Ninth and Derek Kraus 10th to
Yep.
round out the top 10 for Oktoberfest. Summers becomes a back-to-back Midwest Tour champ with Ty Frederiksen winning Rookie of the Year for the Midwest Tour. And
Yeah.
deserving Rookie of the Year. He had a damn good year all around, not just the Midwest Tour.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of seat time for the youngster. And they posted a video yesterday. That Fury was brand new. There is another one brand new in the shop.
Oh,
So
God.
they are spending it all to make their race cars fast.
Yup.
So
Which
they'll have
which
they'll have some-
do we think that second Fury car was the Penitsky car that he probably just shook down a little bit?
well, so who was I listening to? So when they were talking about the rules, they said to have a backup car, the car had to attempt to qualify. So I was listening to Dan's video. So Panitsky hopped in that car to qualify it because it had to make an attempt to be able to have a backup.
Sure.
So he hopped in that car. He talked about, he said he just hopped in it. He said they even had the rider shocks in it. And he goes, funny enough, we even all qualified some guys. So we knew the car was good. But the car, the way Dan made it sound, it wasn't going to be an attempt to run the 200.
Sure.
It was more of if they needed that car in particular, that they
If
would,
something happened on Saturday.
yep, that they would have had that car so they could use that in the scenario of troubles on Saturday night qualifying.
Sure.
So, yeah, that was kind of the backstory there. So, basically, had to attempt to qualify to be able to go to the car if you needed it to.
Interesting. Good
So,
to know, though.
I kind of also wonder if that would have been the same premise with the 23s as well in the Vander.
See, but the weird one with Chris was that he didn't qualify.
But then
I don't think he qualified.
Yeah, but then started the feature as well.
The start of the feature in the back.
Yeah. If anyone knows, let us know. Yeah, but help us out.
Yep.
We're trying to put the pieces together on it, but
Yep.
so yeah.
Couple more, one more, now two more if you want to count the rescheduled Wisconsin State Championships at Jefferson. So two more weekends left in the Wisconsin racing season, but pretty much everybody wrapped up with the Oktoberfest weekend.
Yep. That was the big last hurrah.
Yep. So another great weekend, another weekend without any of that R word
Yep.
coming from the sky.
Yep.
So no, just great weekend. Always love that weekend when it comes around, and always hate it too because that just kind of signals the end of the season.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, any other thoughts here before we switch to some NASCAR racing here?
No, great weekend. You couldn't, it got a little chilly at night, but it's October. You can expect that. But honestly, we really could not have asked for a better weekend for that entire show.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Just perfect. So, all right, let's talk about some Talladega racing. We're kind of picking the pieces from the highlights just because of how obviously we were at La Crosse for the race, so we're kind of picking pieces here and there. But
Yeah.
lot of saving fuel in this race again. That's been a conversation when it comes to the super speedway racing. But it sure didn't seem like it when they got four wide there in that first segment.
No, not at all. It didn't feel like there was any fuel saving. A lot of hard side drafting,
Yep.
and just trying to figure out which line was going to be able to get the run.
And I was listening to Denny Hamlin's podcast, Actions Detrimental, today, and which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But Jared was saying that it seemed from his point of view, the cars seemed pretty stable.
Yep.
So he could just kind of pull that off. And they were stable up until they weren't.
Yeah.
So stage two, kind of all the same thing, a little bit of saving fuel. They were coming through the trial there at the end of stage two, and Bowman just kind of gives too hard of a shove to Blaney and sends him into the wall.
Yeah, it's one of those cases of that run was coming and it was hang on.
Yep.
And I was listening to a little bit. I don't remember where I heard it, if it may have been on the radio on the way back, and they asked, what you could have done about that. And it's just you have to be as predictable as possible.
Yep.
Wheel straight, in line, hoping he catches you centered up so it pushes straight ahead. And unfortunately, something was off just a slight bit. And for lack of better terms, all hell broke loose again.
Yep.
So
Seems like Blaney's either records or checkers at Talladega.
yep, absolutely he is, unfortunately.
Yep. So that maybe should have been the what could have been or what was coming up there in that third segment, or
Yep.
the final stage, I should say. Again, just kind of riding out, waiting until the green flag pit cycle comes up, Hamlin kind of got caught off cycle a little bit. He ended up going 2 tires on his green cycle and pretty much lost the draft, which actually was probably a saver for him because then we get to the big one, as it's been termed now. 28 car
Yeah.
big one.
The biggest recorded wreck in NASCAR.
Yep.
28 cars were involved in some fashion.
Did you watch or see how that one started?
I did not.
So there was a lot of discussion about Todd Gillen because they were going around Todd Gillen on the backstretch when that happened. And honestly, I don't think Todd Gillen had anything to do with it. It was just another one of those you can't push the pusher type of scenarios. And of course, it was right up in the front. And when you do it right up in the front, there's not a whole lot of time for anybody to react.
Nope. And when you do it up front, that usually means one of two things. Either everyone drives away or it wrecks the whole field.
Yep. And it took
And
everybody.
yep, we got the latter option there on Sunday afternoon. So yeah, somebody in cars are kind of funny. Joey Logano.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and the track workers weren't seeing eye to eye on what they were going to do with that car. But ultimately, it still was the end of the day for him, regardless.
Well, okay. So that brings up the one point there. Uh, the inconsistency with the damaged vehicle policy.
We have we have to address this in some fashion, and unfortunately, I have a feeling it'll be after the season because Barry had a
You,
very good point. Barry said, "If I got punished, everyone else should be too."
yep.
So I think at this point you have to leave it because now you tow someone else back and you let them work on it. Barry should raise all live in hell
Yep.
and has
100%.
and has every ground too, as he literally tells Rodney Childers, they're towing me through the campground.
Yep.
So it's inconsistent, but I think you have to leave that door open until the season's over.
Yep. And that was one of the things that Hamlin mentioned was, it would have been better if NASCAR were to say, hey, just for this weekend, we are going to open the rules up a little bit regarding this and everybody's free of it. But it seemed like that, at least the way that Hamlin kind of coined it, there was no notice of this change of interpretation of the rule going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, even the track officials were telling Logano he hadn't even taken the window net on and told him to get out. And he's like, "Well,
Yeah.
no, plug it in, plug that thing in."
Yep.
So yeah, it will for sure get addressed because the guys have very well made it known that it's all over the place.
Because then too, they hauled Elliott and I forget the other car, Briscoe maybe. They towed those 2 cars back to pit road to be worked on
Yeah,
by the
which
crew.
they once you're towed, you're done.
Right. And involved in the wreck.
Correct.
And it especially there was contact with it as well. So it's by the letter of the rule, they should have been done.
Correct. Yep.
So um yeah, and it's just I don't know. And
They've left some
I think
work
the
to be
rules
done.
gotta be it's tow back to pit road, team makes the decision.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think so. And you leave that open until something affects the racing on the track of cars that are not in the situation. If you're going to go out and make 2 laps to try to score points, but you're going to oil the track down,
Yep.
that's where you start to get to a slippery situation of okay, yeah, you're done, but yeah, I don't know. There's definitely some work to be done there in all of that debate, gray area, iffy part of what has gone on the last couple weeks in reality.
Yeah, and Hamlin was livid about that too, given it didn't affect him at all, but he was hot
Yeah.
about that on the podcast. One of the things that he mentioned too, and this is kind of need more information to know it too. He mentioned that there were a couple of missing parts on the RFK cars, particularly the side rail on the roof of the cars. So Couch Racer actually posted a photo of Hamlin's car not having the one of the side roof rails. But when I went back and RFK's um, Twitter, That roof rail was on there throughout the race. So did it come off during the wreck? Did they modify in some way for it to come off at a certain point? You know, whatever the case was, what happened to it?
Yep.
Because it was clear as day missing.
Yep. For sure.
So that's up for debate, but that's neither here nor there.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So, when it ultimately, one more point with the damaged vehicle policy. Hamlin said too that they had the yellow lights on at some point in time
Yep.
while they were cleaning up, but the cars weren't moving.
They wouldn't let cars roll on the
Yep.
backstretch.
But they would that opened the opportunity for teams to work on the car, i.e. Elliott and Briscoe, while
Yep.
on pit road, but not lose laps at the same time.
Yeah,
Because
because they're
nobody's
working on the
rolling.
car. Well, no one else is rolling on the backstretch.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that something's not right there either.
Yep.
It's reality of it is it should be red until everyone can roll.
Yep.
And
100%.
once you flip that yellow, you're fired and ready to roll when the time those lights change.
Yep.
No, yeah.
So I didn't get a chance. Elton Sawyer was on Sirius XM this morning, I believe, as we record on a Tuesday. I think he was on there this morning, but didn't have a chance to listen to it. So maybe he cleared it up on there, but who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
Ultimately, when they did get back going, it was an overtime restart. Um, kind of just stayed double file, and you kind of saw Bush jump out there on his own to try and make a 3 wide, and just got no help.
Yep, he was out there by himself.
And Hamlin mentioned that too on the on his podcast. It was, it's dangerous to try and jump out there because you need all the help with momentum, and if you don't have that, you're not going anywhere.
Well, you're going somewhere. It's just right to the back.
Yeah, exactly. So, had another pretty close photo finish for this one. 6/1000ths of a second
Yep.
where we go with this one. But when it's all said and done, Ricky Stenhouse ends up winning the Yellowwood 500. Stenhouse, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, Justin Haley, Austin Dillon, Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Cody Ware, and Ty Gibbs were your top 13 out of
Yep.
this one.
Yeah, even a little question around the Hendrick cars going opposite of each other on that Tuesday.
Yep.
So a little debate around kind of their decision to go opposite of one another. You know, you kind of thought maybe they were going to stack a lineup and one was going to let the other in. But ultimately, what it comes down to is Larson gave the six a hell of a shove to try to win that race.
And especially in looking at this, when Brad K was the only Ford out of that group, and I mean, you had your mix of Toyotas, but you were pretty Chevy heavy, kind of towards the front.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So who knows? With that though, Byron by points has locked himself into the round of 8.
Yep. So he's going to the Roval going, all right, let's go see if we can get ourselves some points.
Yep. Which is good for me to keep my championship pick alive.
Just painful.
So we'll touch on the playoff picture here in a little bit with our race preview. But that pretty much wraps up Talladega and the events that it was. You got any final thoughts before we move on here?
No, I do think some people are going to take this as a hot take, but I do think Talladega deserves to stay in the playoffs.
Oh, 100%.
I think the unpredictability of it is very intriguing, I
Yep.
guess is the word I would use. Intriguing, wild, unknown, however you want to say plate racing, I guess.
Yep.
So, well, I don't know. Yeah, definitely has solidified its place to be.
For sure.
So,
All
yeah.
right. Let's go to the topic, go to the segment of the podcast that we still don't have a name of.
If anyone
That's
has,
kind of what the name is getting to be.
yeah, the unknown section of the podcast, I
Yep.
don't know. Oh my God.
what is it? Milwaukee, the Brewers, all the American Family Insurance Stadium they had, or Miller Park, really is what it is.
Yeah, it's
They
Miller
had
Park.
the restaurant to be named, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what this is. The podcast that we don't know how to name it.
Yep. The segment to be
The
named.
segment. Yep. So all right, we'll start at the top here. And I think one that we were waiting on the formal announcement for this. It's been rumored for a while, and we finally got it. Carson Quaffle going full-time Xfinity race in the junior motorsports car.
Yep. Yeah, it was going to be a formality. We know Junior had made it known that they were trying to get him to go full time. So you knew it was either going to be a matter of time or a matter of sponsorship. And knowing those junior motorsports cars, you had to know they were going to find a way to get that done. He's proven he can do it.
Oh, absolutely.
He's proven that he is well worthy to be in a seat like that, and I kind of that solidifies that he'll be in the playoffs next year. I think.
Yep. And with Bass Pro, Bass Pro in the car for
Yep.
a number of those races as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, that obviously leaves that late model stock open for next year. In
Yep.
comes Connor Hall.
We get that answer this morning. Yeah,
I'm
you know,
surprised, honestly.
I am. I think I am. Knowing Connor Hall has teased the truck series a little bit, um, and knowing the path of his predecessors, I feel like it was a lateral move to, in the future, go vertical.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
he'll run the 88 for junior late model stock team. Um, he he knows the series, he knows the cars, he knows the tracks. He will be damn competitive. So I think, when you look at the guys that have gone through that program or even the late model stocks collectively, I think he's thinking big picture. So I would agree, still surprising, but I can see the forecast on it.
Yep. Yep. And I actually never thought of that up till you mentioned it. So it's starting to make a little more sense there.
Yeah, yeah, because he's teased the truck series already a little bit with Hilgeman. So
Yep.
um, yeah, I think that's a forecasted move for the future.
For sure.
Yeah. Kind of sticking. I feel like junior motorsports here early in this podcast. Maybe this segment is the junior motorsports news. I don't know. Um, the speaking of the one with Qualpa going in there, Mayer was disqualified at Talladega. Junior Motorsports is appealing that for what? I wasn't entirely sure. I just read the statement.
Low in the rear.
Okay. Well, they're
Low in the
appealing.
rear.
So stay tuned to see if he gets that back or not.
Yep. I'll let you take this next one here as well. A little more silly season news.
Yeah, so talking about we go from the Xfinity to the Truck Series. And I think this one was a little bit forecasted as well. Caden Honeycutt announced that he will run full-time with Nice Motorsports in 2025 in the Truck Series. So again, a guy that's he's had a heavy dose of Nice in the Truck Series. So I wouldn't say that's the most surprising move on earth, but Nice solidifies another piece of their lineups going forward. So
Sticking with the driver filling news, going to switch to the winged sprint cars here for a little bit. Brady Bacon announced that he's going to go winged sprint car racing in 2025 with TKH Motorsports and Chris Dyson Racing. They are not committing to any series, so they're just kind of true outlaws in this move.
Yeah. So again, it's he's made it well known that he's very, very, very dominant in the non-wing side. So
Yep.
it makes sense that this wing move is the next step for his career.
Yep. And then with that, another rumor that kind of finally came to fruition, Justin Peck not returning to Bush Motorsports.
Yep. Yeah.
For 2025. Dason Pursley, another guy coming from the USAC ranks, is going to take over, and they're going to go high limit racing next year.
Yeah. Again, another vertical move professionally for him. I'm excited to see how not only the wing sprint car racing goes, but also the following a series.
Yep.
So what the points race will look like for him and where he's at. Quiet mountain lion in the background there.
Yep. Yep.
Good Lord. She's going to chew on the plants in the corner. So
Oh
this,
God.
but I'll leave you with this next one. I feel like this one's a little more right up your alley.
Yeah, IndyCar. So fun fact here, real quick. I didn't mention this to you. So I was sitting in the airport at Indianapolis yesterday, making my way home from work. Joseph Newgarden was sitting in the airport with us.
Damn, that's cool.
Yep. And I didn't look to pay attention where he was going, but he was heading to Arlington to make the announcement that IndyCar has teamed up with the Cowboys and the Rangers to bring a race to Arlington. It'll be the Grand Prix of Arlington, which will race around the couple of stadiums over there. March 2026 is going to be the date for that one.
So they're forecasting way in advance. Not even next year. They're talking 2 years.
Yep. And even then, the schedule for next year was announced about the 3/4 mark
Yep.
of the season for IndyCar. So, yep. Either way, pretty cool. Another street race and just getting in an area where, they kind of already raced down at Circuit of the Americas.
Yep.
So add another race down in Texas for them if it stays the way it is.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yep. So, um, do you want this next one or do you want me to take this one?
I'll take the next one and then you can lead us into the next segment.
All right.
I don't know why I put this in here. Kind of funny, kind of not news, kind of news. I don't know. Nelly will be the pre-race concert ahead of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race at Phoenix. So I guess maybe that was more of like a when we were younger, Nelly was in.
Yep.
So I felt like that was maybe relevant there. I don't know. But NASCAR announced it. Nelly is going to do a little song and dance for us before the championship race.
Yeah, you're old when you do song and dance.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
All
yeah,
right.
the last one I had for you.
I think we got to talk about the other elephant in the room here
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, we do.
NASCAR side of things. So 2311 and Front Row have filed an antitrust lawsuit against the France family,
Yep.
which, earlier, however many months ago, they were the two teams that did not sign the charter agreement.
Yep.
When the deadline came for that, you kind of wondered what was going to come of it, and we have found out what has come of it.
Yes.
So,
So,
um,
yeah. Ultimately, what it comes down to is they're after that charter, the 2025 charter agreement. And as of when we were looking at this, they are the only two teams of 13 to not sign that charter agreement.
yep. A lot of it comes down to just whether it's unlawful methods to maintain a monopoly, the car rights, the single suppliers. I know obviously Hamlin was very vocal about the money revenue,
Yep.
making sure that teams got their fair share of revenue, especially from the new TV deal.
Yep.
Um, and some other things that he kind of talked about. One of the big ones was they got the contract for the charter agreements, and
Yep.
teams were given 8 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours to read it and sign it and turn it back in, basically. Which, one of the arguments was, yeah, they spent the entire time talking about this, so they knew what the vast majority of it held, but it
Yep.
didn't give the teams the times to go over amongst each other with lawyers, with whomever
Yep.
to, yep, we're okay with this, we'll sign off on it, or nope, we want to talk about this more.
And I believe I read somewhere that Richard Childress was kind of in this scene. He wasn't to this extent, but somebody within Richard Childress Racing had kind of made a point that said they kind of felt like they were forced to sign it.
Yep. And I know that was a comment that came out at the initial signing of this as well,
That they just kind
that
of
feel
felt
like their
like
hand was forced.
they were forced and they didn't really necessarily have an option but to sign it.
Yep. Um, God, I had a thought and I don't remember what the hell it was now.
Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully it'll come back to me. Um, But no, obviously, lot of discussion about this, referring back to antitrust acts of the 80s. Um, the entire lawsuit is 43 pages, and it's supposedly one of the largest one in motorsports history. But as per a lot of court cases go, it's a couple years before we actually see the trial of this as well. And that's per motorsport.com.
Yeah, they're expecting 1 to 2 years. So now this is where things get very interesting. And the more I looked into this, I'm like, wait, well, hold on a second. So basically, the injunction will allow the two teams to compete next year without agreeing to the charter deal. If it fails, they will compete as open teams. Now, the open teams, what that comes down to is a big money loss for them.
Yep. So the injuncture is kind of a separate deal from the actual antitrust lawsuit. So that's something that we're going to get a resolution on quicker than
Yep.
later.
Yep.
So we should hear whether they're actually going to get the charter race under the quote unquote charter agreement
Yep.
next year or not.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting because they're not agreeing to it, but will be allowed to compete under it.
Get the benefits of it.
Yeah, get the benefits of it, but not agree with it. Yeah, I don't know. To me, that was very, very interesting.
Yep.
But
Hamlin talks about it in this week's as we record here on the 8th of October. He talks about it a little bit on his podcast. So I listened to a little bit of it. I didn't retain a lot of it or remember for a lot of it, but as I was listening to it, brought up a lot of good points. I have yet to listen to the interview from their lawyer. Apparently, there's a good 18-minute interview with Dave Moody out there that I'm trying to listen to, but just haven't gotten around to it yet. So
yeah,
a couple of sources that you can get information from, at least from their side of it.
yeah, and very readily as
Yep.
they let's be honest, this has been the elephant in the room for a long time with this um charter agreement and yes and no and who's in and who's out and are we getting it or are we not. And so when this charter conversation comes up, there will be cameras and microphones ASAP.
And this is uncharted waters for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I remember my point that I heard. So Larry McReynolds kind of not went after him, but he had a few comments to say and especially with 2311 and Front Row being newer teams
yep,
on the NASCAR side, it's kind of it's what grounds do they have for being newer teams versus a Hendrick, an RCR, a Gibbs, who have been around here for a while and have been with NASCAR for years.
yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have to you have to evolve in some fashion, but
Yep.
it becomes to what degree did we need to evolve to this point?
Yep.
Let's be honest, neither of us have any idea.
No, we are not lawyers
No, but
by any means.
did the sport with this new car have to evolve to this point this quickly?
And who's to say that, we could do with the single source suppliers and NASCAR kind of saying, okay, this is how we want the car to be, but alter different parts of the charter agreement to this as well.
Yeah,
It's
that
kind of it. Does it affect the racing? No, but it still doesn't look good
correct.
by any means. So,
Yeah, it ultimately it may not ever change the product on the track, but how you go about it will look different.
yep. Obviously, and obviously, without the France family, starting with Bill Senior, this would not be a thing to start off with. NASCAR as a whole.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and I think one key point here to make, and take it for what you feel like it's worth. France nor NASCAR has made a statement publicly or in court about this at all. Which,
Yeah.
again, take it for what you feel like it's worth.
Yeah, I mean
That's
it's
where we sit.
when you say someone's filed a lawsuit against you, it's kind of the I will talk to my lawyer and then I will make a statement type of scenario. You can't have a lawsuit against you and then make a comment that you think will be okay, and then all of a sudden they got a bullet in the chamber against you again. That's it's
Yep.
very it's a very, very delicate situation. And we're not talking about a couple $100,000 either. So
No. I do want to look up one thing here real quick before I get too far into it. Well, I guess we could look up two things. One, since I'm looking at it right now, kind of switching off topic, and we forgot to bring this up with Talladega. The Jeff Gluck poll. 62.6 said yes on that one. I don't have a number of votes though on that.
okay.
But the other thing, and I'm hoping I can find this here. I got to go through all the mid race updates here. I just want to make sure, and I want to clarify if the lawsuit was against the France family or if it was against the corporation NASCAR. I just want to verify that.
I believe it's both.
I gotta be getting close because this is where
I believe it is both. I could be wrong. Let me do it quick.
against NASCAR.
Oh, it is NASCAR. Okay.
It's against NASCAR.
Okay. All right. I mean, let's be honest. Denny's made it very clear where he stands, and he was asked very directly if the 2311 financial commitment to the sport is appreciated, and he replied promptly and directly replied, probably not.
So, and he said on his podcast too that obviously he's going to be getting a lot of questions the rest of the year about this, but he said, "Me, I'm a driver of the 11 first, and then owner of 2311 second."
He still doesn't have what you call a championship. That's where you got to start.
Yep. So, again, you don't like to see this. It's in a tough spot. It's gonna take a while for us to sort this out. Hopefully, we can sort this out without getting ugly.
Yep.
But times are changing.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Again, do we need change? Yes. To what degree?
Yep.
Ask me in 2 years.
Yep.
Come back for episode 150 and we'll see where we're at.
Fair enough. All right.
So,
Any other thoughts here before we kind of recap some more other races or not recap, but just kind of mention other races from the weekend?
no, it's hang tight. As they say, time will tell. That'll be the big one for that entire
Yep.
situation.
So, all right, let's talk about some other races real quick, at least who won what over the weekend. So let's start with the Hunt the Front Dirt Series that raced at Talladega Short Track. Ethan Dotson won night one there. And then Zach Mitchell won night two with the Hunt the Front Dirt Series. Lucas Oil, they raced at Pittsburgh's Pennsylvania Motor Speedway. Obviously, the first few races for them under the new playoff format. Devin Moran won night one, and then Jonathan Davenport dominated night two.
Nick Hoffman
There.
Nick Hoffman is at the bar in Mexico. Who's leading the race? Dale Earnhardt.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, JD.
JD responded to that too. He said, have a drink for me.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
The Truck Series, Grant Enfinger locks himself into the round of four with a win at Talladega. The Extreme Outlaw Midgets, they ended up rounding their season out. So Zach Dom at Jacksonville Speedway, Zach Dom won night one. And let's see, I gotta find it here. Gavin Miller won night two for the Extreme Outlaw Midgets. Let's see, there it is. Cannon McIntosh is your 2024 champion for the Extreme Outlaw Midgets.
Yep.
Let's see. Randy Sargent was your winner of the Big 8 late model race at La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. We talked about Chester Race. Sammy Smith was your winner of the NASCAR Xfinity race at Talladega. Jimmy Hebert won the past Super Late Models race at Thunder Road International Speedway. We'll touch on this one here in a sec. Marcel Gravel won the 62nd running of the Vermont Milk Bowl, also at Thunder Road. USAC Silverground had a makeup race at Terre Haute Action Track. Logan Seavey was the winner of that one. World Outlaw Sprint Cars at Williams Grove. So they got partway through their future race on Friday night, got postponed due to the fog, which first
Yep.
off, those um, fog vapors coming off the wings were awesome.
That made some epic pictures.
But they ended up postponing the rest of the race till Saturday afternoon. Michael Kofoid won that one, and then Carson Macedo wins the Champion Racing Oil National Open at Williams Grove.
Yep.
Becomes a two-time winner of that. We
Mhm.
talked about Majeski winning the Midwest Tour, then Ricky Stenhouse winning at Talladega as well. I want to touch on this real quick. So we did have some champions crowned this weekend as well. Chad Simpson becomes a Lucas Oil MLRA Series champion again. You got something with that?
Yeah, they have one weekend left, but he's far enough out. He'll win the title.
Sure. Um,
Overton, same deal, hunt the front.
yep. Cole Searing was the Soto Late Model champion. I might have mentioned that already. Nick Anvilenk
Yep.
won your Wabam Dirt Late Models championship.
Some of these are still to be determined, but
Yep, you're looking at one of them there. I'm gonna skip that one. We talked about Brad Sweet getting crowned champion there. Scotty Thiel was your IRA Sprint Car champion. Andres Perez is your Arca Menard Series champion for this year. Michael Bilderback is your Big Eight Late Model champion for the fifth time in his career. Uh, Brandon Reichenberger is your Midwest Truck champion. Scotty Gardner Jr., a little bit of history for the Mid-Am Stock Car Series. He is your Rookie of the Year and champion.
yep.
And that was all the champions that were crowned over the weekend, or at least the past couple of weekends.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So had to throw those in there.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about some races coming up this weekend. I think I'll let you handle this first one.
Yeah. Lucas Oil Late Models at Brownstown, October 11th and 12th. 11th, they have the third annual CJ Rayburn Memorial. The 12th, they have the fourth annual Jackson 100, which was moved here this year. So unfortunate with the news, and I think this is a good moment to, dear God, pray for the people in Florida. Hurricane 1, Hurricane 2 is inbound, currently a category 4, 4 or 5. So anybody in the path of that Hurricane Milton is going to roll literally right through Milton, Florida. But let's keep everyone down there in your prayers that they can get through this. It's just a downright awful time. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Some of the videos and scenes, and we talked about it last week with Biffle. Cletus stayed at Biffle's, and he was there, and Cletus has opened his racetrack to stage disaster relief. He's opened the 40 acres behind his house to stage relief. So, yeah, just a scary, scary scene a week apart from each other. So
getting kind of kicked when you're already on the ground type of thing.
yeah, it's tough, but yeah, that unfortunately takes out the East Bay finale. As we say goodbye to East Bay, which is really sad that they will not get their finale with the Hurricane. So kind of really two sad deals. They're tied together, unfortunately. But looking at Lucas Oil points, so with their new point shakedown here going into the title, Moran and Davenport having really good weekends. Both jumped RTJ. So Moran's your point leader. Davenport's 10 back. RTJ is 60 back, and McCready's 80 back. So those two guys having good weekends winning features found themselves with a good advantage heading into the weekend for the championship.
All right. Winchester 400 for the ASA Stars National Tours this weekend as well. Gio Ruggiero was your 2023 winner of this race. Quick look at the point standings here. Casey Roderick is your point leader. Kyle Steckley is 157 points back. So Roderick maybe closing in and locking in that championship here before we know it. Austin Nason is third at 163. Cole Butcher, who was your point champion, is back this weekend. He'll be back. He's 176 back. And then Dawson Sutton is 179 back. Some notable entrants for this one. Stephen Assey is back behind the wheel. Obviously, Roderick. Michael Hind is coming off of the Oktoberfest race weekend. Ty Majeski will be down there, rumored to be in a Michael Hind car, kind of as a payback for lacrosse.
Yep.
Dawson Sutton, Austin Nason, Blake Rowe, Chase Berta, and Gavin Boschel Just a few notable entrants for the Winchester 400 for the ASA Stars National Tour.
Right on point. They just love to do this for us. I really appreciate.
Full entry list.
Full entry list was released at 5:30 p.m. Blake Rowe, Nassie, Garcia, Albert Francis, Kyle Steckley, Butcher, Roderick Sutton, Bashell, Billy Van Meter, Chase Berta, Chase Pinsolt, Nason, Jonathan Nee, John Beach, to name a few others that go along with the stars and cars of the national tour. 25 cars as of 5:30 tonight.
All right, we'll kind of tackle this next one here together. The Cup Series at the Charlotte Roval. So we'll be limiting 4 drivers after the playoffs, or from the playoffs after this one. Previous winners of this one are Blaney, Elliott, Larson, Christopher Bell, and AJ Allmendinger. Taking a quick look at the standings here. So give me a hot minute because I'm not prepared.
As we know, Byron has found himself locked
in. So Christopher Bell is 57 to the good, damn near locked himself in. Kyle Larson is 52 to the good. Denny Hamlin rebounds from almost being out. He is 30 to the good. Bowman is 26 to the good. Blaney, who also wasn't looking great, 25 to the good. Reddick, 14 to the good, and Elliott, 13 to the good. Excuse me. Drivers on the out looking in. Joey Logano is 13 out. Suarez is 20 out. Cindric is 29 out. And Briscoe is 32 out going into this one.
Yeah, my championship picker title is on the outside looking in the old Pennzoil 22.
My champion is still alive, obviously with Byron, but my final 4 is up in danger right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a hit hard on my final 4 this week potentially.
So obviously stay tuned in for that one. We'll see if some bumpers are used on this one. This one has turned into be a pretty dramatic race here in the past. So what also took a hit this week was fantasy for me, especially. Yikes. My lead is gone in the fantasy playoffs.
Yep.
So I am currently at 895. I'm still leader, but I'm only up by 7 points above you. You're at 888. Cam is at 873. Sovi's Pit Picks 809. Gasman's Girl 808. And Dietz is at 720.
Yeah.
So
got some good battles in there. We're all kind of grouped up, top 3 together, middle 3 kind of together-ish. So yeah, it looks to play out very well.
Yep. I don't race picks wise, kind of a mixed bag there. I don't know if you saw, but I added up the total points from our Oktoberfest race picks, which were modified. We'll state that as well. We had to modify them a little bit due to one guy breaking and one guy not being in it.
Yep.
So Cam ended up being the winner on the weekend with 169 on the Oktoberfest picks. You were at 168, and then I was at 154.
Damn.
So, but going off of Talladega race picks or actually I should talk about points here real quick. I did broaden my lead out back a little bit. I am at 1749. Cam is at 1719, so I'm up by 30, and then you're at 1626.
Yep.
As our point set. Picking order is going to be you, me, and then Cam, which we'll get Cam's later on in the week here. So you get first pick at the Roval. Who do you have?
Boy.
Take your time because I got to figure mine out here too.
Okay, I'll take my time. I'll take the 9 at Chase Elliott.
Oh God. Right, hold please. I am all kinds of don't know where I'm at here. Let's see. Charlotte. There we go. That's not a bad pick, honestly. It's a really good pick.
2-time winner of that event.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go with a guy that's got nothing to lose. So what the heck? Give me Byron.
Gonna do a little point damage, huh?
Mm-hmm. And then we'll get Cams later on in the week as well.
Yep, for sure.
So, all right. You want to highlight any other races that we got going on before
Yeah,
we get too far?
let's go ahead and take a look at the week coming up. So as we speak right now, we do have high limit racing at I-70 Motorsports Park. Power I sprint cars are with them as well.
Yep.
High limit heads to Lucas Oil tomorrow, along with
Oofed.
Power I. Texas Motor Speedway for them on the 11th. And then we look down a little further, as we mentioned, Lucas Oil at Brownstown for 2 nights, USAC Amsoil Sprint Cars at Lawrenceburg, or the Outlaw Sprint Cars head to 81 Speedway in Selinsgrove. I can never say that one. American Canadian Tour heads to Thompson. Cars Tour back in action at Tri-County Motor Speedway for both the late model stocks and the pro late models. High Limit heads to Texas Motor Speedway. IMSA, they will find themselves at the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. NASCAR Xfinity joins the Cup Series at the Roval. Past Super Lates at Thompson. USAC Amsoil Sprint Cars at Lawrenceburg. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars at Lincoln. XR Super Series back in action for the Kokomo Clash at Kokomo Speedway. National Tour in conjunction with the CRA Super Series, as we mentioned, at Winchester. Cup Series at the Roval, and the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour visits Thompson. So those are some of the big notable races coming up for this weekend.
All right. With that, you got any final thoughts here before we check out for the evening?
It's championship time. It's
It is.
everyone's getting crowned now. You've worked all season for this. We've had some good champions crowned, some very good race cars come very close
Yep.
and come short. But let's not discredit the season and the body of work that those drivers and crews and teams have put together as well. So, yeah, good spirited battles all across the boards, whether you're dirt, asphalt, late model, wing sprint, sprint car,
You
midget,
name it.
whatever you name it, there's a title to be won. So, yeah, just kind of pay attention to those points battles, and the series I'm sure will do a very good job of letting you know where they're at and what they need to do to capture titles for
Yep.
set drivers and teams.
Absolutely. And I know we've mentioned this before on the podcast, and it really means it now as seasons wind down, that means tracks shut down for the season. Go and hit up those short tracks before they shut down for the season. End the year off strong for everybody there, and obviously take the kiddos out. It's always a great time. So be sure to tune in, and then obviously with us, make sure to be subscribed, hit that bell, take a look at us or hit us up on X, on Instagram, whatever the case may be. We're always happy to hear from you and hear what your thoughts are on some of the topics that we talked about today. So with that, we will see you all next week on the Tuesday Tracked Off after another fantastic weekend of racing.